Oh, my good Lord, everyone. This is Big 12 football. 44-41, Texas Tech leads. Welcome, everyone, into the chat. There's 10 seconds to go in the game. It's going to come down to a Nathan Hawks field goal. The former Wittenberg kicker who missed his first of the season today is probably going to have a long 40-plus to win it. Sorsby, 9 seconds to go. Throws it out of bounds. All right. I'm not looking at the chat because you guys may be ahead of me, but here it is. 3rd and 10, 6 seconds to go in the game. I don't know why you don't punch it up the middle for a few extra yards there, but hell, Nathan Hawks has a boot. I do not feel good whatsoever. Hawks just missed one at the end of the half today. It was 42. He's made a 37 and a 26 for the tie, and Texas Tech is going to ice him. Recap of this game that's 44-41. Texas Tech fans threw some tortillas, hit Corey Kiner. He was out for the game. Then they threw more tortillas, hit Evan Pryor. He's out for the game. Cuffey, though, 2 touchdowns for the third-string running back. Cincinnati has a chance. If they kick this field goal, I'm going to go back into the man cave and watch a few minutes. Pour yourself a drink, stay for a while. It's 11:45 Eastern time. Satterfield's got his arms crossed. He's nervous. I'm nervous. Hudson just texted me something. He may be ahead of me. This is it. 51 yards for Nathan Hawks. Cincinnati's chances at a Big 12 championship, slim. But they're on the line here. On the road, Hawks 51. No, he missed it by a mile. Damn it! And that was a lot of football. A 3-hour and 45-minute game that takes us almost to midnight. This postgame show is going to take us into midnight. And we're doing a postgame show on it. God bless. I didn't think I was going to get hurt by the football team this year, honestly. I thought it was going to be smooth sailing into basketball season. Houdin, if you can hear me, join. Running the intro right now. This is Chatterbox Bearcats. We go on win or lose. Sometimes it's easier than others, but we're going to let it rip. I'm going to go upstairs, grab myself a little bourbon. We got about 90 seconds before this thing goes live. All right, everyone. Hop in the chat. Let's talk about it. Misery loves company.
They only allow 40,000 into tiny Nippert Stadium.
They say nothing good in life comes easy.
You had to buy football tickets to get basketball tickets. And basketball is the hot ticket because Bob Huggins had the Bearcats rolling.
Program that was rumored to be disbanding about 15, 20 years ago after some huge losses.
They say the longer you have to wait for something, the more you'll appreciate it when that someday comes.
Caught! Touchdown, Urban Benz!
We thought the moment had arrived.
They are in the playoff.
Only to find out the moment's been too big.
Hey, go to hell.
At the end of the day, it's a business.
Present day, nobody believes in this team.
Scott Satterfield, no answers at the moment.
But with this program, the best things have come when you least expect it.
Number 1, let's go!
And the Bearcats are up 16-0 in South Bend.
They're disciplined now. That loudspeaker came on and said leave the field. I mean, they turned it around now and got off the field.
Welcome to the only live Bearcats postgame show on YouTube. This is Chatterbox Bearcats. That's about as tough as it gets, Houdini. Welcome to Chatterbox Bearcats, everyone. It is a late finish in Lubbock, Texas, a game that goes 3 hours and 45 minutes, but we're here to break it down with you as always. Chuck Walter, Hudson Klauke, you know him as Houdini on the streets. A shootout in Lubbock, final score. Is that the right final score, Houdini? 44-41 in favor of Texas Tech, or do we put more points up on the board?
Sadly, it's that is the correct final score, Chuck. Nail on the head there. 41-44.
We knew, man, that when Towson ragdolled us in the first game of the season on the ground, that the run game was going to be problematic this season. And it was absolutely problematic in this one. Brooks was what's the right word to use? A monster. 32 carries, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns. Looked like Jerome Bettis. 231 yards on the ground for Texas Tech in this one. Meanwhile, for Cincinnati, a star was born in the redshirt freshman Manny Covey, but why Manny Covey was in the game, Corey Kiner goes down, Evan Pryor goes down. Bodies were hitting the floor left and right, man. We saw Corleone hobble off at one point. Xavier Henderson had to leave late in the game. The ref even walked off the field like he was holding the poop. His foot may just be sideways forever, man. That was for sure a metatarsal. But this is the Big 12. No more Temple Owls on the schedule. Cincinnati, I'm pissed because since he had a chance to win it on the road, I thought these were two very even teams. It came down to who made less mistakes. And Cincinnati, with an Evan Pryor fumble, with a Brandon Sorsby pick 6, aside from that, it was pretty even. What's up? How we feeling?
We're feeling god awful because that's a game that you got to win, and the mistakes. It came down to mistakes. We knew this was going to be a track meet. We knew our defense sucks. This is nothing new. Yeah, we shut out Houston. Houston is atrocious. Okay, and we went and if have that. And listen, Sorsby has been damn near perfect in the entire season. And then when Pryor had that fumble at the 27-yard line, something like that, you just can't have it. You can't have it and expect to win. And, we're on the road. And I was just praying to God that we would get, a linebacker interception, anything. And it didn't happen. And our savior that we were talking about, Nathan Hawks, couldn't get it done. Plain and simple.
Not the greatest day for Nathan Hawks, but we still love him. He's still kicker number 1. I was really hoping that I was going to get to shine this up on the postgame show and say, Big 12 championships on the line, boys. Going to Lubbock, win this thing. Schedule plays out for Cincinnati to have a fighting chance this season. They were up 14-3. And they blew it. They blew it. Let's break down how this one went. The run game was a little alarming without Corey Kiner. Cincy in the game goes for final number, and it was skewed. They rushed for 129 yards, but Sorsby had 52 of them, and Evan Pryor had 36 on one carry. So take out the 36, they were under 100 yards. Not a great effort, but what can you do? You're on your third-string running back by the end of the game. Kiner would not return after 3 carries with 9 yards. Evan Pryor had the roller coaster of a game, got hurt, left the game too. That was after he had a fumble, then had the big 36-yarder to put the Cats within field goal position. They got points on that possession. Manny Covey was getting touches by the end, and I loved what I saw from the redshirt freshman. We'll have more on Covey in just a minute, man. But Red Raiders score on their first drive. It's 3-0 Texas Tech, and this is a lot of points I got to go through, so forgive me if I miss out on something. Sorsby then goes 7 plays, 68 yards, and 352. Xavier Henderson, a 36-yard haul. Sorsby, a keeper on 4th and 1. Some more guts from Satterfield. He loves going for it on 4th down. Then Sorsby goes 15 yards to Tony Johnson. Touchdown number 9 on the season. 0 interceptions. It's 7-3 Cincinnati. Bearcats say no. Texas Tech goes for it on 4th down. Tahj Brooks gets stopped in the backfield. UC gets it back. First play, 46 yards. Sorsby, Henderson, 14-3. Henderson's 4 touchdowns on the season, more than the 3 he had all of last year. The run defense on Brooks was bottling him up to start. Then he started looking like Jerome Bettis, as I mentioned. And the pass defense for Cincinnati, it wasn't good to start. Lots of confusion in the UC secondary. Morton, 5 of 5 for 75 yards on the scoring drive. It's 14-10. They're chucking tortillas at us, are the Red Raiders fans. Forgot that was a tradition. Then Fletcher punts at the end of the first quarter. They fumble it. Bearcats recover inside Texas Tech's 30. We don't capitalize. It's 17-10. Did I mention UC's secondary is horrible? They miss a bunch of tackles. Tech scores in a hurry. It is 17-17. The missed tackles alarming. Arnold missed one on the touchdown run that was terrible. Sorsby, really good, man. The rollout, throwing on the run is insane. Loves going to his left. I think he's, one of the top 3 quarterbacks this millennium already, and he's just a sophomore. I mean, between him and Mock and Grutza and Davila and Brendan Kay and Keel and Munchie, it's a no-brainer. He is legit really good with Tony Pike, Zach Collaris, and I would say Desmond Ridder, the only 3 quarterbacks that make a legit argument to be better than him just 4 or 5 games into his career. 5 games, to be exact. Evan Pryor would rush it in, 24-17 Cincinnati. Tahj Brooks, 8 plays, 75 yards, in 2 minutes and 8 seconds. It's 24-24. Nathan Hawks is human. After a 2-minute drill, Cincinnati again cannot capitalize at the end of the first half. We are doing this every single game. It's become a theme, so it's 24-24 at halftime, although it felt like Cincinnati should have been up. Second half, Cincy gets the ball to start. Huge momentum shift as Evan Pryor fumbles near midfield. Tech makes easy work. It's 31-24. Did I mention our O-line is really good? Some big boys. Pryor totally redeems himself. 36-yard pickup on 3rd and 4. Hated the play call we ran on 2nd and goal, giving it to Covey when, our bell cow Kiner was out of there. It's 31-27 after the field goal. Cincy tries to tie the game, and Sorsby makes his first big mistake of the season, a pick six, 41-27. Manny Covey comes right back, 71 yards. It's 41-34. The third-string running back shows off some wheels, but unfortunately, when it comes down to it, Tech marches down. They get more points, 44-34. We do score a touchdown there late in the game. We have a chance to go down the field and tie it up. A 51-yard field goal from Nathan Hawks isn't even close, and that is what the Bearcats deserve for stealing Tommy Tuberville from Texas Tech in pure Mrs. Doubtfire fashion as he goes to the bathroom, puts on his disguise, and dips out the back door. That's what we get for beating them in Lubbock last year in basketball. A game that I'm pissed off about because when you're up 14-3 on the road and get the ball in the second half, you're feeling very good, especially when you have Cats money line and you have a chance to cash out and win about 1.5 of your money. But Houdini, that was the recap. It's brought to you by no one because we don't have a sponsor. Take it away.
It really was brutal, but I mean, to act like for a second I thought up 14-3, like we were in good shape. I mean,
then why didn't you tell me to cash out, Houdini? Why didn't you tell me to cash out? You said
that's the coward's. That's a coward's way out. Lose your money like an adult, like we all have. Okay, I got a realtor right now checking out my walk-in closet with a family of 4. Okay, and that's okay. And I thought Nathan Hawks might save my home. He did not. And again, it comes down to the mistakes. If you put up 41 points, you should expect to win, but that's really not how this season is going to work. Our defensive backfield is an abomination. They're not very good. They're going to give up a ton of yards. Sorsby, I wanted to come on here and be like, it's a two-headed race for the Heisman. It's Cam Ward and Sorsby. Maybe Travis Hunter has a chance, but other than that, nobody else is close. Unfortunately, we're not winning games. Sorsby had an atrocious pick six that really ended up costing us the game, but you can't expect this guy to be Jesus Christ out there. I mean, he's going to make a mistake every now and again, and we couldn't come back from it. And it sucks. Nathan Hawks missed 2 field goals. I wish we could have got closer. That targeting penalty they picked up and then ran 10 seconds off, criminal.
We should be chucking tortillas at the refs. Zebras blew it. I forgot about that. And the announcers were confused too. They're like, oh, it's not targeting, but it's still the personal foul because Sorsby was clearly defenseless, clearly sliding. He was pissed. He got up and And the clock was ticking. It was tick, 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 tick. He didn't give a damn. He was like, no, throw the flag, throw the flag. Finally, they threw it. They review it. And what can you do? The answer is nothing. What can Brendan Sorsby do? He did everything he could to win this game. 41, scratch that, 31 of 45, 426 yards, 4 touchdowns, the lone interception, rushed it 12 times for 52 yards, literally tried putting Cincinnati on his back. And that is what makes me excited for the future of Bearcats football. Do I believe that Scott Satterfield is the guy? I believe more than I believed 3 weeks ago. I'll give you that much. I'm not going to turn our back on the coach because you can't. Like, what am I going to do? You know, go to the game with a Fire Satterfield sign with a 3-2 team in a second season that's, 2 possessions away from being 5-0? No, you can't do it. Brendan, though, really gives me hope for the future. The fact that Satterfield was able to evaluate that talent, bringing in his first quarterback with time, because obviously he brought in Emery, but that was a scramble just to bring in someone. So that excites me. Also, the freshman Manny Covey, 6 catches, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, a long of 71. Royer had 7 catches for 66 yards. Xavier Henderson had 7 for 127 and a touchdown. Cincinnati's offense is going to keep them in a lot of games this year. They may be going bowling because of this offense, but their defense, man, I mean, it sucks. They gave up how many yards to Texas Tech in the game today? It was definitely over 500. They gave up a total of 482 yards to Texas Tech. Cincinnati goes for 555. If a team's going for 555 yards, they're typically winning. Am I wrong saying that?
I'd like to think, 500 plus yards gets you in the W column, but with this roster, it really came down to not finishing drives, though. I mean, again, if you have 41 points and 500 yards, you anticipate to win. But if you're not getting the ball in the end zone, I mean, I had no faith. I mean, hell, Chuck, they were dead serious kicking an onside kick with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I was like, dude, if St. Dominic's Pee Wee football team is the defense, I still like my chances of kicking the ball down the field. They were actually – talk about a vote of confidence to your defense. They're like, we have so little faith in you, we're going to onside kick, which has like a 3% chance of converting. So they have no faith. They know the defense sucks. Tough all around. You got to get a stop. And
he went up to Satterfield. Poor Tyson Veit. He went up to Satterfield and said, hey, onside kick it. My guys just don't have it tonight.
I mean, at least the defense did get a stop. I mean, they did what they had to do at the very end of the game. I mean, I think it was the first punt. It felt like we were watching the Bengals against Jaden Daniels. They did get one punt out, and I wish that Nathan Hawks didn't have to kick a 50-yarder to tie it up. I would have loved if we could have got the ball closer to like a 35, 40-yard field goal. It didn't happen. But the defense was a little bit to be desired, to say the least.
Some plays from Trayvon Gullah-Collard. I like him a lot. I thought Antoine Peak Jr. again was flying around. Corleone looked really good defensively. And then again, Minkins. He's someone that stands out in the secondary. But aside from that, it just seems like the Cats are rotating through a lot of players. Not a consistent 11 out there. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, we'd have to bring in Lilly watching the All-22. I watched the game a different way. I did see Golday all over the place today. I liked the game that he played. But, man, I'll say this. Sorsby made some throws late that would have drastically changed the way we thought about his game had they been picked off. Like, there was one that he threw into triple coverage late, right? Bearcats ended up scoring a touchdown on that possession, but it was not a good throw whatsoever. Threw one behind Royer, threw one away from Henderson in the end zone. He's human. I mean, he's not going to the NFL tomorrow. He's a sophomore, but he is the quarterback of the future, and at the very least, I mean, this sucks. It's never fun losing, especially to a team that you feel like you're about as good as. Had you played a cleaner game, you probably could have won that game. Hell, you had a chance to send it into overtime with a kick that Hawks has made before this year. But that's what hurts me most, man, is the fact that you put up 41 on Texas Tech, you go up 14-3, and you just do not play a clean football game. So you hate to see it.
I mean, our bell cow. We were talking about the four-headed monster. It ended up being a two-headed monster when it was all said and done. Xavier Henderson's limping off. Kiner was out almost immediately. Had 3 carries for 9 yards. Like, he's our guy. And Sorsby tried to be Superman, and it bit him in the ass a couple of times. But you gotta. It's a game of inches, Chuck. It's a game of inches, and those inches did not fall on the Bearcat side. And at some point, it's like you got to figure out a way to win football games, regardless of what happens, regardless of the injuries, the bullshit, the ref taking a shit, and he was being a third defender on that touchdown in the second quarter. You got to figure out a way to win either way, because at the end of the day, it's a 3-2 record. We should be 5-0. We should be. Get it out, Chuck. Get it out.
Texas Raider 806, a fan of the Texas Tech Red Raiders, has found his way into the chat room. Hey, Texas Tech Red Raider, pucker up and kiss my you-know-what. That hurts, man. Cincinnati's next game is at Central Florida. Central Florida lost today. Let's run through the Big 12, tell you about some of these games that went down. I think there's a clear-cut Big 12 favorite right now. It's Utah, obviously, but they're losing right now at the time of this podcast being recorded, 10-3 to Arizona. So if not Utah, who are we looking at in the Big 12? Could be the other team from the state. That would be BYU. They look really good right now. They're 5-0, man. They're 2-0 in the Big 12. They beat Baylor 34-28. TCU beats Kansas. Kansas had pretty high expectations heading into this year after a resurgence last season. They lose by 11 at home to TCU 38-27. They're 0-2 in the Big 12. Prime. Coach Prime goes into Central Florida, goes down to Disney, and it is a small world after all. 48-21, Colorado wins. They're 2-0 in the Big 12. Kansas State demolishes Oklahoma State 42-20 in a game that was called an elimination round between the Pokes and the Wildcats. The Wildcats win it, so the Pokes, they're probably not going to a Big 12 championship game this year, but we will see. And then our friends from Houston, they fall to Iowa State 20-0, and I'll tell you what, it sucks being a Cincinnati fan. I mean, the Bearcats are 3-2. The Bengals are 0-3. The Reds have a manager to find. They suck for like the 15th season in the last 17. So life is tough. I will say, being a Houston Cougars football fan right now, I mean, good God, what do you have to look forward to? Maybe one touchdown the rest of the season? I mean, Cincy just gave up 44 points to Texas Tech, and we shut out Houston. That team sucks.
They're not good. I mean, they have Kelvin Sampson to look forward to. And I was telling you this right when I think Pryor had that fumble. I'm like, give me Wes Miller. Like, give me Wes Miller. This team's loaded. I'd be shocked if UC is not a top 25 team in hoops the entire season. But I will say this. As far as the football program, as far as Satterfield is concerned, having a guy like Sorsby at the helm, you got to feel – and no victories, no moral victories in this industry. But the way that Sorsby operates back there, man, you're in every game. You really are. I mean, the guy had 225 yards today, and we still couldn't get it done. Defense, Kerry Combs, come on, brother. Figure it the hell out. The Godfather was in, I mean, Trey Hendrickson style. He was in the backfield almost every play, but it seemed like he was on an island. But it could be worse, is what I'm saying. It could be worse as a UC fan watching this game, being like, we're competing with a team, like I said, that's very similar to the rest of our schedule. Like, we're going to be competing against every single team in this league. It's not going to be like last year where we're getting blown out by 3 touchdowns. It really isn't.
No, but that back-to-back slate of at Iowa State, at Kansas State, those could be a little bit of a beatdown. There are some teams that are superior to the rest of the conference. There is some tiers. We miss out on Utah and BYU and a couple of those teams that are clearly on the upper echelon of the conference. But, yeah, that's where we stand. Cincinnati falls to 3-2. Any questions that you have, leave them in the chat right now. And if you're in the chat, be sure to subscribe right now to the audio podcast so you can take us on the go. We got recruiting news, breaking news, player interviews. We've had on Ice Cube. We've had on Deuce McBride. We've had on Troy Copain and Octavius Ellis. So be sure to subscribe that way. and you can get the content there. But Houdaini, basketball season, as you mentioned, is right around the corner. They open things up the 18th of October against Ohio State in a little exhibition. Schedule came out, the gauntlet to open up Big 12 play. It's Kansas State on the road. Then it's Arizona at home for the first Big 12 game at Fifth Third this season. Then after Arizona, it's on the road at Baylor, who's going to be probably a top 10 team. Then it's back at home against a top 5 team in Kansas. And I've said this, and I'll say it again. If UC just takes care of business in their non-conference slate, which isn't that great, they're going to have college game day for either Arizona or Kansas. And we've never seen that at Fifth Third Arena, at least in my memory. And the way that the campus showed out for college game day for the football game on homecoming. Now, football, college game day, obviously a completely different scene than basketball. But still, it'd be pretty cool, man. What'd you think of the initial schedule that came out?
I love it. I mean, I love the way college basketball operates, where you don't get penalized for playing an insane schedule. When they crunch the numbers at the end of the year, you played a bunch of tough road games, blah blah blah. They actually figured it out correctly. If you lose the third game of the year to Duke or Michigan State, your season's not over like half the time it is in college football. I mean, granted, they've changed it with the playoff, but I'm excited, man, because like we said last year, it's like it's a breath of fresh air. Like, we're not playing East Carolina and Tulane. You're getting up for every damn game. And I'm going to be in Hunter Dickinson's ear. What is it, like February 11th? I don't even know what it was, but I highlighted that on my calendar. I'm like, I'm going to be 12 Cincy Lights deep in Hunter Dickinson's and Bill Self's ear. And I'm excited, dude. Kansas, Arizona, that's amazing just from like a program standpoint. 'Cause it's been a while since the old Big East was really the closest we had to something like this. It's going to be a lot of fun, man, but it's going to be brutal. I mean, you got to come to play every single night if you want to come home with a W.
The old Big East was unreal. The one thing I will say is that there were some games in there before Providence was good, before Seton Hall was good. St. John's had some down years minus the Lavin era. Rutgers was in there. So there were DePaul. There were like 4 or 5, 6 games that weren't big time. The worst game on the schedule this season is either like UCLA or, UCF, Oklahoma State, or West Virginia. Aside from that, it's borderline tournament team every single night with, Kansas State potentially being one of the bye games if they're, is not solid as they were a season ago. So I'm fired up. Cats are looking at playing 4 perimeter players, it sounds like, surrounded by 1 big. So that would mean starting 5. If you're talking Dylan Mitchell as a perimeter player, you're looking at Skillings, Seamoss, Mitchell, Jizzle, Aziz as a starting 5. I think maybe there's a chance Hickman could slide in there, but there's no way Skillings, Mitchell, or Seamoss is going to the bench. So I would have to think that Hickman is probably your first or second man off the bench. And then as your backup bigs, with McKinley apparently out indefinitely with a knee injury, you would think that McKinley may get a medical red shirt. That means that Arrington Page is probably your backup 5. And aside from that, it's Bandego and it's Page. And then it's a whole bunch of guards for Cincy. Day-Day is your backup point guard. You feel good about that. CJ is like your 10th man that can come in when teams just are in la-la land in the second half. You could throw in CJ, bang down a couple threes, switch him off with Hickman. I mean, I'm not even mentioning guys like Rayvon Griffith because I don't know what he's going to bring to the table, but per some of the sources that I have within the program, he's had a good summer and should play significant minutes this season. So I'm fired up, man. I know this is a football show, but hey, when UC football loses, we have to talk about brighter days ahead, and that's basketball right now, because all that Cincinnati has to look forward to is that over-under of 5.5. I don't think this team is winning more than 6-7 games. If you have a ticket on the 5.5, that's kind of what we're playing for at this point, just positive momentum heading into the next season. And aside from that, getting healthy again. I mean, Corey Kiner, if this is a serious issue, he didn't return in the game, that would suck. I mean, we'd see some Covey, we'd see our future, but if him and Pryor are seriously dinged up, our run game looked a lot different once those two left the game, specifically Kiner.
No, you need Kiner. I mean, he's your bell cow. You absolutely need him, and that opens it up for guys like Pryor and Covey who are more speed backs. But like I said, man, and I was telling you this like during the midweek show, I was like, I think Manny Covey can be a problem. I really do. You still need a kind of a workhorse back to offset because he's not going through the tackles. Like he needs space. And when Kiner's going right up the gut 20 times a game, it opens it up for everyone else. But to your point about UC Hoops, I think that they're going to slide Hickman in that starting role and have Skillings 6-man, Big 12 6-man of the year again. And I think that's their best chance of winning basketball games is putting Skillings, even though he's clearly a top 2 or 3 player on the roster, putting him in with that second unit because we need shooting in that starting 5. We finished 13th in the Big 12 in three-point percentage. And, I had a couple buddies at the bar last night claiming that Skillings, trust me, this guy's a dead eye now. He's not. That's not his game. He's a slasher. He's a phenomenal rebounder. He's not a great shooter, and that's okay. But I like Skillings coming off the bench. It'll probably take a few games for them to figure that out. But talking about the non-conference schedule, I mean, we got Villanova, Xavier, and Dayton.
Villanova!
Those are big games, man. Villanova.
Oh, not Uncle Jay anymore. Dude. Yeah, that is a big game. Probably at the Pavilion, unless we play them at is it Prudential where the Sixers play. They go for some big games there. But yeah, Dayton, Xavier. Here's the deal with Wes, and I've said this many times before. I'll say it again, and we'll hop off into the night and post this on the audio podcast platform for everyone that didn't catch the entire show. But with Wes entering this year, there's no excuses. I am 1,000% team Wes Miller. I think if Wes Miller isn't our guy, we're pretty screwed. He's got to be our guy. With the recruits that he's brought in, you cannot be in a position after this season where you have to make a tough decision regarding Wes, and it would be a tough decision letting him go. But I feel like you'd have to at least entertain it if they cannot make the tournament with the current roster that they have constructed right now. This is a team that should be very competitive in the Big 12. I have no reason to believe that they will not be, a top 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. They got length. They got depth. They do have some shooting, specifically in Hickman and C.J. Frederick, obviously. They were the number 1 rebounding team in the conference last season in terms of differential per game. I think that's their identity. They're going to do that again this season. So that's the thing that I'm looking at right now is Wes Miller. The time is now, man. The time is now. And the way that the non-conference is set up with Villanova, with Xavier, with Dayton right there, the easiest way to just have all Bearcats fans forget that, oh, yeah, this is year 4 and Wes Miller hasn't made the tournament and he's had some damn good players and has yet to get them to reach their full potential. The way to just forget that that's even on the table is to just beat Xavier, Dayton. You can lose to Villanova, but just beat Xavier and Dayton. Because you lose to Xavier, Dayton in back-to-back games going to the Big 12, I promise you, even if the athletic department isn't seriously thinking about it, which they're not, you know that the Barbarians are head of the gate with the pitchforks. And West needs to keep the Barbarians away from the gate. Satterfield's done a decent job keeping out the Barbarians after a few wins back-to-back. I mean, if he finishes the season and can't win any more games and wins 3, we're back with the pitchforks. As of right now, bringing in Sorsby, bringing in guys like Royer and Kiner, I do like the direction that the football program is heading as of now. But again, I'm very emotional. It changes week to week. It changes minute by minute. And that's the thing with Wes Miller. That's my storyline of the season. Beat Xavier, beat Dayton, keep the Barbarians away from the gate for as long as possible. Because if he can get into Big 12 play and they're a 4 or 5 seed in a Bunker Boys in Lenardi's bracketology, we're not even thinking Wes Miller on the hot seat, right? But that could change if he starts the Big 12 slate off a little bit rocky with that 4-game slate that we mentioned and goes 0-4 against Xavier. I promise you there will be people that are making loud noises. Final thoughts.
Sure, whatever. It doesn't matter. Wes Miller's not going anywhere. He'd have to commit a federal crime for him to. It'd be felony.
No, it's called not making the NCAA
behavior.
Tournament with this roster. That would be a federal crime. It would be a crime. With
I know,
this
but no, that's technically criminal. You're right. There's no doubt about it. But no, I don't think Wes Miller's even remotely close to a hot seat. Satterfield, on the other hand, if this season flips upside down and we win 4 games, then we're having a real conversation. But like Lily said, Satterfield's going to be here next year no matter what. Okay, so we got to deal with what we have, and from a program standpoint, you got to feel pretty good about what he brought in. Hey, we might not. Maybe the math flips next year and we win these close games. But having Sorsby, I truly think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I really do. Like one of the best in the country, let alone the Big 12. Like I'm very confident when he has the football. He made one mistake today that was bound to happen at some point. But we're in good hands when Sorsby's got the football.
Steve Ross says, Houdini, you're an idiot. Skillings is not coming off the bench. Chase Wellman asks who's going to win, Arizona or Utah. I'll take the team that's on top every day. So we'll go with Arizona. I may look like a fool.
Steve, just a heads up. He's like, Skillings was their leading scorer. There's no way he's coming off the bench. He came off the bench last year, Steve. Pull your head out of your ass and figure it out. He came off the bench last year. He was leading scorer.
Didn't. For half
I'm not
the
saying
year
he's not one of the best
players. By the end of the year, he did not come off the bench, Houdini. Facts don't care about your feelings.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. He came off the – he was literally the 6th man of the year in the Big 12. Figure it out. Get it together, folks. And that's okay. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's not one of the best 5 players on the roster.
Houdini, I was reading the Lindy's magazine today, and it said that he started the last 16 games of the season. Now, who am I going to trust more? Am I going to trust Hudson Klauke, or am I going to trust the
that could be true.
Lindy's?
That could be true. Steve, I apologize. That might be true.
They did say that Seamoss, though, was was going to protect the paint for Cincinnati this year. They listed him as a forward, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, he's a big dude, but I would not call him an inside presence for Cincinnati by any means. He's going to sit out there and just bury 8 threes per game. That's what he does. Satterfield's buyout is over $10 million per Steve. We're not talking buyout right now. We're just talking about a tough loss in Lubbock, Texas, 44-41. Do I think that Satterfield is the guy that's going to get this team back to the college football playoffs? I have no idea. I don't have a ton of faith, no. But we're going to ride with them into UCF next weekend, who got blasted today. And we're going to see what happens, Houdini. That's kind of the story of this football season. Let's see what happens. No one had expectations. It's a team that was supposed to win 5.5 games. We found our quarterback of the future. Covey looks nice. Maybe our running back of the future. A little tandem with Evan Pryor. We got Royer for another season next year. Hit the transfer portal and replace every single person minus 1 or 2 on defense. That's a must. And let's keep the train rolling. 3-2. Never say never. College football playoffs are still ahead of us. We could still win the Big 12, man. It's not over. Faith.
Yeah, absolutely, Chuck. I was just about to say that. College football playoffs still right in front of this program. God, it'd be nice just to win a game, man. Like the Houston game felt great. We knew it was going to be a battle. We knew it was going to be a shootout. We came up on the wrong side of it today. And Nathan Hawks, God, we had a great clip about Nathan Hawks. I'm like, he's the greatest kicker in UC history. He's better than Justin Tucker right now. And then he kind of threw a dud out. But listen, none of those were easy kicks. It's a tough situation. I don't think the refs helped us out in any way whatsoever. 3-2, man. We got to win next week.
All right, this is Chatterbox Bearcats. Calling it a night. I'm sweating my ass off, man, from pacing around the living room watching the end of that game. The bright light shining on me for my ring light. I've had enough. Final score, Texas Tech 44, Cincinnati 41. UCF is up next. However, we got to wait a little. It's October 12th, so Cincinnati heads into the bye week 3-2. Final words from Logan Cox. The defense is not garbage either. They play a bend or not break defense, and they forced 2 turnovers in the game today. Logan, I respectfully disagree. I do not think Cincinnati's defense is very good. However, Texas Tech puts up points on anyone, so that's the final thing that I have to say tonight is give credit to the Red Raiders, man. I got nothing against Texas Tech. That may change in the future, especially if they keep drilling our guys with tortillas. But, I mean, they score points. That's what they do. We knew this was going to be a shootout. That's why we hammered the over. And unfortunately, that's why we hammered Moneyline too and couldn't get the job done. So, see ya, brother.
Later, man.
Chatterbox Bearcats.